start streaming. Welcome to JRN3365, where today we're going to be talking a little bit about one of my favorite toys or tools, the production switcher. And I'm going to start this over again. I'm going to leave it going there. But PowerPoint, let's hit F5 on that. Okay. Welcome to JRN3365, where today we're going to talk about one of my favorite tools in production, the production switcher. And so basically this is a device that lets us to take multiple inputs and switch them around to put out video production and whatever we want people to see at home. So every production in a television series is usually a recorded set of scenes that tend to happen in chronological order. So what you can see in the video I have here is a pitcher pitches the ball, a batter hits it, it then goes into the stadium grand as a grand slam, a home run, and then you see the runner run around the bases, and then they wind up going home. And so a lot of people want to see these events either as they happen or reproduced kind of in the same order. It wouldn't make a whole lot of sense if you saw the runner running and then you saw the pitch and then you saw the home run and then you saw them running again and then you saw them running into home plate. It just wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. So when we do a lot of video production, we tend to shoot them in a chronological sequence, such as time, and put them in that order. Now when we do a lot of this, we're going to do it one of two ways. We're either going to do a single camera style, like kind of what you have with me just talking to you, or you might have something else like a multiple camera style. So with single cameras, you have things like a small production company. You may have like a live shot. This is a scene that's being shot for a documentary or a TV show or a movie. And then you also have like sports highlights for news. Now multiple cameras tend to incorporate something that happens live and can only happen one time. So for that, you're going to have multiple cameras like sporting events, presidential debates. In this case, we have an interview with a host and a guest, and this is shot on multiple cameras. Morning soap operas and soap operas in general tend to be shot with multiple cameras because it allowed for the studio to have really quick turnaround from one episode going into the next. So let's break it down a little bit. When we're talking about single camera or cinema style, these are shots that are composed and recorded either on film or videotape or digital media, and they're edited later, and these things can be cut together. So if a person is having a conversation with another person, then a lot of times they will tend to record all of person A's dialogue, and then they'll stop, move the camera, and set up person B for them to record their dialogue. Another thing that you might see is if you have a TV show that has multiple scenes taken in different locations. So there is a TV show that recently came out called Game of Thrones, and they had three major climates that they would usually shoot in. One would be a cold winter and snow, they had a dry desert, and then they also had a moderate temperate zone where a city would reside. And instead of trying to shoot something in the city and then go to the ice and go to the desert and back to the city, they just shot everything in the city for the entire season or the entire year they were doing the production. Then they'd go up north and they'd shoot everything in the cold. Then they'd go over to the desert and shoot everything there. And they could stitch and edit the different pieces together. So with this, shots can be pretty much photographed in any order, and they can be edited later. Also, any mistakes or bad takes can be discarded, and they can do it over again. So if an actor or an interview says, you know what, I got that wrong, can I do it again? With the single camera style, yeah, you can stop, reset, and shoot it again. So that'll give you a pretty good advantage of that type of shoot. Another type is that these setups usually involve minimum types of equipment setup. So for this, I have a reporter who's gone out. She's got a tripod, a camera, and that's about all she needs in this movie scene that's being recorded. Again, they have a camera that's being kind of carried by one of the videographers or the photographers, and they have a small microphone above the actors' heads that they're able to see. And this is a small amount of equipment that is being used for something along the lines of a feature film. Now, there are some disadvantages to this style of shooting. Some of it is it can be slow and it can be time consuming. If I went back and I did that interview where I had the one person talking and then the other person talking, I would have to shoot everybody's lines the first time, stop, re-rack, go to the other person, then shoot all of their lines. If I had done it with like two cameras at the same time, just kind of shooting at each other or videotaping each other, I could record them both at the same time, and that would cut my work pretty much in half. So with a lot of production, the many hours required to program and set everything up, get the lighting right, get the microphone and the audio right, is going to take a lot of time. And lengthy complex productions could require weeks or months. So one type of television show that's been popular recently are the reality shows, where they will have cameras following around 10 people or 11 people as drama unfolds around them. And so with this, they have to go through, and these are kind of treated like a single camera shot because each camera is focusing on one person that they're following. And so with stuff like this, you don't have it going in real time. Since you have to edit all these cameras together, that can take a lot of time. I recently shot a production with 4 cameras, and I had to go in and kind of edit each camera at a time, so that made my production 4 times as long than had I done it another way that we'll talk about in a little bit. And so suppose you want to televise something that is happening in real time and has a lot of action or shots and can kind of only happen once. You can't recreate it. For that, you're going to need another type of shooting. So things like sporting events, presidential debates, require something a little more advanced. And for that, you're going to need, it's going to be kind of like a live production or a cinema style setup to pull off what you need. And my PowerPoint has decided that it wants to pause for a moment while my computer thinks about what's going on. But technical difficulty aside, we're able to keep going. So what I'm looking for is now called a multicam or a live event. And this is an assembly of shots built into a sequence that is basically like a live event. So for this, let me duck my head out for a second. I have various camera options. So for the football game, I have a camera that's low level. I have a camera that can run up and down the sidelines. I have another camera on a dolly or a truck that can move along with the action. I've got cameras that can be pedestaled high up to get a shot that would look down. And likewise, even in sporting events, they will have a little camera in a crane that can be hovered and suspended over the action to get all these different angles. So if you've ever watched a sporting event, there's usually a point where someone makes a score or there's a close play. So with American football, I'm going to say they make the touchdown, they cross the goal line, and you have one camera covering them, and then instantly there's another camera on the sidelines looking at their friends. They're cheering them on. There's suddenly a third camera that's in the crowd, looking at all the crowd going crazy. There may be like a fourth camera that's way up in the top of the stadium looking down over everything. And then you may have like a fifth camera that may do like a quick replay, and this camera could be like right behind the football player's shoulder because they have a telephoto lens that can zoom in, get a tight shot, and you can kind of see that action as it happens. So these are things that you cannot recreate easily with multiple cameras shooting one at a time, because you would have to tell the football players, rerun this play. We're going to rerun this play 6 times. I need everybody to do the exact same thing. They're not going to do that for a sporting event. So for things like live cams, it is going to make your job a lot easier to pull off specialized productions like this. Now, for our football stadium, we have quite a variety of cameras to choose from. So for our football field, we have a camera that's on one end zone, and another camera on the other end zone, so we can see players coming towards us or going away from us. Likewise, we have a person that's able to run up and down the sidelines and shoot a variety of angles. They can get in with the coaches and players and get views from them. They can follow the ball as it's played. They can follow cheerleaders, spectators, fans, and if a score happens, they can quickly turn around and shoot and get action shots. We have another camera that can be put on a dolly or a truck, and that camera can kind of go through the field backwards and forward. We have a couple other cameras that are high up in the stadium, so they're able to kind of shoot down and cover the entire field in front and not being blocked by anything. I've also seen some stadiums where they'll take a third camera and put it right on the 50-yard line, so right in the middle, so it's able to kind of also get a shot of all of those, of the entire field that's going on. So for us and for a lot of football games, you're going to see shots kind of like this. And each camera kind of has its own unique view, its own unique perspective. But they're all able to capture a single moment from different perspectives. And to do all of that, we're going to need a piece of technology called a production switcher. And production switchers come in a wide variety of shapes, sizes, and functionality. In the upper right corner, I have a very large production switcher that can handle many inputs. If it's servers, cameras, videos, things like that. We also have smaller production switchers that can handle just a few inputs. And there are venues that don't need something extremely powerful. Smaller venues like churches, small gatherings, small groups can get things like that. They also have portable ones, so this production switcher is inside basically a case with a handle. And the operators can just pick up the case, carry it to a location, and then plug in their cameras on the sides. And there's also an app for a tablet that can remotely control the switcher. And then there's also like other small portable switchers that have everything you need, including like audio sliders embedded in them. So there's a whole range of production switchers, and they vary kind of depending on what you need. Now, the switcher that we use is called the Broadcast Pix, and this is what it looks like. It is it's a pretty good size switcher that has about 24 inputs. It's Windows and computer powered, so it can feed multiple displays and show me everything that we need. They also have side access from computers. They have other access from tablets. So this is a pretty well defined switcher. It's pretty robust in what it can do, and it's just a great all-around switcher, and it fits our needs well. I also have up on Canvas, I have a diagram of this switcher that I'm going to talk about in more detail in a little bit, so you'll have that as a study guide to help you out. And so our switcher came in about 10 years ago, and this is just a quick look of the configuration that we have set up. Our switcher has two large monitors that I can break up in different feeds. I've got a very large program monitor so I can see what's going out. On the left side, I've got what's called a confidence monitor, and this is tied into our local cable, so I can see what our production switcher is putting out when we're live on the air. Likewise, I've got computers in the background for various purposes. I've got things like a video server, I've got maps and graphics, I've got name graphics, and a virtual switcher that I can control from the back row if I can't make it to the front row or we need to tag team it. And likewise, we have our switcher just embedded right in a desk, and it is always ready to go. So that's just a little bit about why you would need a switcher and what it's able to do as opposed to single camera style or cinema style. And production switchers are not always the answer to every solution. I have had productions where I only needed one camera, and that's all I needed. I would have to go record a person giving a speech, and taking a camera, running it through the switcher for a single input was kind of a little bit of an overkill, so we didn't need it. So there are times when you do need the single camera or the cinema style, and then there are times when you're going to be needing a production style camera to pull off what you need. So that's just a